This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 31st of October 2019, and I am 2M.
I am DM.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines, in the Daily Nation, debt driving Kenya to the tipping point. In the Standard, 86 pastors, politicians caught up in ritual killings.
Yeah.
And in the Star, KIBAKI rushed to City Hospital over knee pain.
Yeah.
But just before we begin here, today is also DM's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I'm only 47, I'm fast approaching my 50s.
Is that right?
Yes, it's an honor and privilege to get older, so I'm aging happily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best wishes.
Thank you.
So, on to the Daily Nation.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Say the nation and its sustained campaign, but let me first describe it. They're saying debt driving Kenya to the tipping point, and the reason they're saying this is because the MPs have finally agreed to increase Kenya's debt ceiling.
Yeah.
Because before it was illegal to have a budget that was going to 3 trillion shillings, and that was actually surpassing our debt ceiling.
Yeah.
And now they have Treasury has gotten Treasury has gotten Parliament's approval to increase the debt ceiling to 9 trillion shillings.
Yeah.
Now, look, this headline, I have a feel, and the other headlines of the Star and the Standard in the past few days have been trying to get at government. There's a scheme. But also, what the media is probably not getting is what we are not differentiating is this thing that we call transformation and transition, or what is the difference between transition and transformation. I know, I feel that we are going through a transformation period in this country, all right? And in my view, I think we're actually an adolescent country.
Yeah.
And what happens during adolescence?
It's the stage of awkwardness.
Yes,
Absolutely, and growth pains.
Yeah, you get a huge Adam's apple, you get all manner of pimples, you become skinny.
You don't know what to do with your
and you get
lanky
it overnight.
arms.
Yeah, you get it overnight, all right? But when you turn 18, 19, 21, you start blooming and prospering, and all the girls come for you, and you become the life of the party. Now, in 5 years, 10 years time, Kenya will become the life of the party. Stop being
I don't relate with all the girls coming for you, but so what you're saying then is that, of course, they should give the commentaries on the what is happening economically, because there are all these declarations and reversals, but then they should also give a comprehensive angle, but more importantly, an optimistic angle.
Precisely. And I think where the president is leading us is definitely somewhere big.
Yes.
And look, the job of a leader such as His Excellency is not to see through his eyes, but through his beliefs.
Amen.
Because and I'm going to take on a spiritual angle to this, right?
Yeah.
Look, living beyond our means is actually living by faith.
Yes.
And you know what happens to people who live by faith? They take over the world.
Absolutely.
Right? Because their faith enables them. If they don't see with their eyes, because if you are limited by only what you can see with your eyes, you'll be too intimidated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To raise the debt ceiling to 9 trillion shillings.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be worth the while after a few years.
Absolutely.
So we ought to live by faith and not by sight. And the shame is for Christians in particular, that they are of such little faith that even the people of the world sometimes,
like China,
like China, are able to live by faith. And that faith takes them to great places.
Absolutely.
But what you were mentioning earlier, is that no country has ever prospered by living within its means.
Precisely.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
And let's look at it this way. Economic pundits, some very pessimistic one I know. You'll see his picture very soon. They've been saying we are going to an economic crisis. I don't think there are indicators of an economic crisis in this country. Inflation for a long time has been almost hitting 7%. Now we
Hasn't
are actually...
the shilling risen against the dollar?
It has. Now inflation is actually at 3.4%. The shilling in the past 3 days has actually appreciated against the dollar. This country, I think, has sound economic fundamentals. That if we start pushing the limit and saying there's an economic crisis, what you're actually doing is creating what's it called? An environment of no confidence on the market. And the people who are going to suffer, it is you people.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we think of the headline? We've got a 3-part criteria in which we use to assess the headlines. Is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
If it's part of an agenda to push a certain narrative, it's definitely not meeting any of those criteria.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we toss it.
Yes, very far.
All right. In the Standard.
86 pastors, politicians caught up in ritual killings. Now, this headline is quite familiar, but I'll give the context. The DCI is telling us that there have been a few or some murders across a few counties. Nairobi, Embu, Kitui, and my hometown, Kericho. Where people have been killed in the name of a cult. And just a few weeks ago, there was a similar headline that was specific to one case. And the person who committed the murder actually confessed to belonging to an Illuminati group in Johannesburg, and even gave them the credentials to the website and the forms that he filled to join the cult. And the purpose for these murders is that they believe that their material well-being will improve.
Will multiply.
Having sacrificed their friends and family.
We are in some of these people are in a very dark phase of their lives.
Absolutely.
I would only urge them to seek the kingdom of God.
Rebuke it.
Because what they're looking for is power. What they're looking for is power over their circumstances. And that's definitely not to be found where they're looking for.
What's Africans'
where they're looking for these things.
What's African
like
obsession? What's African obsession with black magic? Everyone thinking they're gonna get richer by seeing some dark things.
But I must comment about the headline itself. I think we are seeing a new pattern with the Standard headlines. I think there's a new person at the helm who's pushing the boundaries, which is very good. We are moving from those monotonous topics, like education and whatnot that we see all the time. But just like the nation, we would urge them to also be more optimistic in their renditions and in their headlines.
Absolutely.
And in the Star.
In the Star, yet another familiar story. KIBAKI rushed to City Hospital over knee pain. So the Star is telling us that the former president had arrived from treatment in London last week, but he was rushed to the Nairobi hospital after he complained of knee pains. However, his secretary, Ngari Gituku, has denied. He said he's at home resting and not in hospital.
Absolutely.
However, I don't think all these secretaries should be denying. They should tell us so we pray for them if they're actually in hospital.
DM, I want you to take us back to 2002 and the origin of this knee pain. Because I think there's a story there, and a very intriguing one.
It could be related to the accident that he had in 2002. I think the whole country remembers that because it was when NAC was campaigning for the president. For the presidency. So anecdotal evidence has it that Raila Odinga himself got into the ambulance and drove him to hospital because he didn't trust that high volatile political environment. That they wouldn't take him out.
And those days, paranoia towards MOI was very
high,
real. It was very high.
So from a reign of fear and terror.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the headline itself?
Anyway,
let me tell you guys, I think this one will do away because the Star has been on a roll. First they were telling us about MOI, now they're telling us about KIBAKI. They're trying to tell us something without telling us. So
we tossed that one as well.
I think we tossed it.
Okay.
Did you toss the Standard?
It is for Wachawis. Wachawis are killing people.
And on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. In the Star. Yes.
This is your thing too, M. It's football. I do not comprehend.
Now, this is a man called Nick Mwendwa. Nick Mwendwa is CEO, Secretary General of FKF, Football Kenya Federation. And he's out there with a bow that looks like a begging bow. And the caption, and standing behind him, is that Kenya, they call them Harambee Stars, the football team, a national football team for ladies. And the caption there is Football Kenya Federation. And this is a sad story. And it's a sad story because the Kenya national team, ladies team, has actually forfeited a match because they don't have money.
A match in Egypt.
Yes, and Mwendo is accusing the ministry. And look, I keep blaming the Interior Minister, Fred Matiang'i, for his aggression on betting, and I will continue to do it. Because let's assume the ministry doesn't have money to sponsor sports activities.
That would have taken them
what actually happens is the corporates come together and they come with government and they fill in that gap and they support this national team. Now, what was so hard, just telling betting and the sport pesa come together, sponsor our national teams, even have a tax break, but for as long as the sports program runs, it's okay.
So what do we think of the cartoon? We've got a 3-part criteria as well for cartoons.
Yes.
Are they humorous or dry? Satirical or pessimistic? And finally, effective or just plain lazy?
It is effective. It is not pessimistic because it is real.
It is true.
This is what is happening. Yes.
But I think we should also look at that cartoon against the one on the Standard because it's the same topic.
Absolutely.
And here we are seeing a pair of feet that are battered and there are worms coming out of them.
Really
and it's written Harambee Stars on the legs. And there's a worm there that's saying, "See, he needs more money." There's a piece of paper there that says FKF.
There's a former minister called Hassan Wario, and he was of the same opinion that we are going to do a sports fund, and the sports fund will cater for these football teams, these ladies and men, and that is actually the view probably of Matiang'i and co. Look, if we don't change our thinking that government actually has to involve itself in everything, these guys will continue perishing.
Let me also say that's a very disgusting cartoon. Gado has a capacity to do very revolting stuff.
That means it's effective. Then finally in the Daily Nation, we have Victor Ndula there's a jet there, and there's a caricature of the President Uhuru Kenyatta emerging from that jet with very long legs. He has quickly sneaked into the jet bridge
before it got to the plane.
Before the plane even segued into it. And the caption there is, "Now you see him, now you don't." And of course behind him there he's holding a bulging bag which we can only assume has currency in it.
Absolutely.
So this is a commentary on the continuing story about the president having a lot of foreign trips.
I only wish it was more optimistic. So it would have been nice if if the bag was being offloaded, and then he goes on to another country to bring more money, because all these trips, they are going to pay off in the end. As I was saying yesterday, presidents don't just travel for the sake of. They travel for a good reason. They travel to build the name of the country and to get money.
Absolutely. But I also have another angle. I think Ndula is being he's sympathizing with Uhuru. And because Kenyans have been giving a lot of flack to Uhuru, saying, "Oh, visiting here, visiting there." What he's actually doing is this man has actually come with goodies, I think, back for his people.
But he's hiding.
He has to, come in without telling you that he's coming in, because the entire lot of you are...
but...
so what do you think of the cartoon?
The cartoon itself is funny.
Yes.
To be honest, it's very funny. It is hilarious.
I love how his legs are lanky. It's pretty cool.
And he's doing thumbs up as he's entering.
So are we giving it the winning cartoon?
Yes.
I think we are.
Absolutely.
Winning cartoon goes to
And so, what is our final thought?
And now, our final thought. Inspired by a book entitled July's People by a lady called Nadine Gordimer.
So before we get into the book, I'd just like to remind our viewers of the theme of the week, which is books that were banned, and we're looking at these books across Africa. On Monday, we began right here in Kenya, and we looked at Ngugi wa Thiong'o's book, Petals of Blood, which, along with other works of his, including a play called I'll Get Married When I Want, was banned, and Ngugi wa Thiong'o was thrown into prison for a whole year, detention without trial. So the government thought that they felt threatened by Ngugi wa Thiong'o because they thought that he is encouraging a sort of revolution against the post-colonial government. And then on Tuesday, we remained in Kenya and we looked at the book The Reds and the Blacks, a personal adventure written by America's very first ambassador to Kenya during independence, called William Atwood. The guy exposed the secrets and political intrigues of the government, and that is why his book was banned. And then on Wednesday we went to Nigeria and we looked at Wole Soyinka's book, The Man Died, Prison Notes of Wole Soyinka, which he wrote in 1972. And Gowon's government, not only did they ban the book, but it was actually, the book he wrote it after he had been detained in prison for 22 months, most of which was in solitary confinement. And in the book, not only is he telling us about the government and the atrocities they were committing during the Biafran War, but he's also describing his prison experiences, especially the torture that he experienced during solitary confinement.
I can't help it but interrupt you.
Go ahead.
You see, when we were talking about yesterday, I remembered the story of Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga suffered, and just before the second liberation struggle, the man was actually put in a cell, probably somewhere in your house, all right? And in that cell, there was a bright light put up there in the ceiling, and it was so powerful. And it was left on for a very long time. Now, there's a reason why Raila Odinga to date rubs his eyes and scratches his eye, and it tears up to date, and takes a handkerchief and wipes it. It is precisely because of that bulb.
The terror lingers.
It was a form of psychological torture.
Psychological torture.
I really think that Raila ought to pen his memoirs in prison, his prison experience.
Yes. He owes that to the country.
He owes that to the country.
And we at Fort Hall School of Government, we offer research services in the writing of that book.
Absolutely.
So and that's precisely why Wole Soyinka's book was so powerful.
Absolutely.
The description of what this kind of torture and solitary confinement can bring about. So today we're heading south, and we're looking, as 2M said, at Nadine Gordimer's book that she wrote in 1981, and it's called July's People. Nadine Gordimer was a South African writer. She passed away in 2014 at the age of 19. She was very prolific and one of the literary giants. Also, she won a Nobel Prize for literature in the year 1991. So this book in particular is a fictional novel where the author gives us a prediction of how apartheid would end, in her view. She gave a projection. And in her prediction, there was going to be civil war where the black South Africans would drive out the ruling minority, the white South Africans, out of power. And the story focuses on a successful upper middle class family called the Smalls. And
a white middle class family.
White middle class families, and they lived in Johannesburg. They had a good life in suburbia. But they had to seek refuge when civil war broke out in the village of their domestic servant, a man called July. Hence the title of the book, July's People. So as the story progresses, we watch an inversion of power dynamics in the book. The masters are ceding power to the servant. So they rely on their servant July for everything, including translation and even protection. Because of course they were not welcome in a village as white people. So as they negotiate power dynamics in July's village, they come to a realization of their own privilege. They always thought that they treat this guy well, but then when they go into the context now when this guy is master, they realize that they had taken this privilege for granted. I think we can ground it here in Kenya because we are a labor economy, so a lot of people have the privilege of having domestic help. So imagine you in your nice home in Buruburu or in Lavington. Things get thick in Nairobi and you have to go to Bungoma or Kitui or somewhere with your domestic servant who you've been treating whichever way you've been treating, and then the tables are now turned. So the power dynamics that will unfold in that situation will be something to behold. So in this book, not only she demonstrated the power shift through objects of power. The Smalls had a car. They drove there for 3 days to the village. But a few days after they had gotten there, on the first day, this guy is still a servant in his mind. So they're sleeping in a hut. And then July takes them tea, breakfast in bed, as he usually does in Johannesburg.
This is in their village.
This is in their village. But then he slowly starts realizing that the power dynamic has shifted here. By the 5th week, the guy has taken the car keys. That's a symbol of power. And he's also taken the gun, because it was the only gun in the village.
Absolutely.
And in the village, if you have the gun, you're king, because you can hunt wild animals to eat.
Absolutely.
So what she illustrates in this book, lastly, is the emptiness of racial hierarchy, in which there's, and she's saying in this book, there's nothing inevitable or natural about white power, especially in this apartheid context. And she says that it's demonstrated, or it's just established through violent force.
Absolutely.
But before you go to I think you should also tell us why the book was banned.
Oh yes.
So that was an interesting story as well.
Yes, unlike the books that we have been looking at this week, where they have banned because they had ideological differences with the government, or they attacked the government. This one was banned because it was banned much later. The book was written in 1981, and the book was banned in 2001. Because Nadine Gordimer, the author, at that time was criticizing the ANC government because she was saying that they are corrupt.
Yes, absolutely.
So the government said, "Oh, you're saying we're corrupt? Your books will no longer be read in schools."
It was quite ironic. It was quite ironic, actually, that the black president would ban such a book, which
turns
really
the tables
in society.
They also do. So what the ANC government said is that the book has bad grammar. Of somebody who won a prize for literature, is deeply racist, is superior and patronizing. However, I'll give it to the ANC government. It's highly subjective. It depends on how you read the book, because she also demonstrates the life in the village as very primitive, compared to what the white people are used to, and it takes on at some points a very condescending tone.
Do you know, I probably very much agree with the ANC, and it's because this lady was projecting her fears not as a woman but as a white person. Now there's a part where she speaks of her 4 children, there's 4 or 3 children, playing around with Julai's children and the children in the village. Yes, and she says that these children they started speaking the language, they even started behaving and dancing like Africans.
Like the black people.
Now, you see,
it's the beauty about kids.
When you have a master colonizer, and he's colonizing you, he gives you the methods. So you start dancing like the Scots, you start dressing like the Brits, you start saluting like the French, everything you do it like them. But by the time when they're seeing their offspring behaving like the people they're colonizing, speaking Zulu,
they're disgusted,
and of course are doing clicking sounds, then it becomes it's a threat to them. But second thing that I took from this book is how the tribal chief reacted when he saw Maureen and Bam, and when they came.
These are the white parents.
The white parents, and the white parents, they fear when they see this tribal chief is that they're going to be disposed of and they're going to be told, leave this village because you're white. But to their shock, the tribal chief actually takes them and actually asks them, can I use that gun that you're using? And when he hears that the Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana and Mozambique have actually sponsored the rebellion of the rebellion against whites, and now even the South African policemen have taken their side, he gets angry because he knows the power in the village. He is a boss, all right? And this reminds me of our tribal chiefs in this country when we were being colonized. They actually were collaborators with the British, and I think the reason they did that, yes, it was a power dynamic. If we were able to fight the colonialists much earlier, the tribal chiefs would have lost their power much earlier than they thought. And therefore, for them to succeed and for them to actually amass wealth, then they needed to collaborate with these colonial masters.
Absolutely.
So you saw that as a collaboration?
It was collaboration.
The chief.
And maybe I think that is why the ANC banned this book. Because it was actually depicting the African race then as very collaborative with their masters.
And greedy.
The narration you've given confirms what we usually say at the Photo School of Government, that Muzungu is not a description of color, but of attitude.
That is very true.
And that's what I think we see in the book coming out, particularly the parts that you've talked about. And so in this book, what Nadine is doing is trying to get us to think of an alternative series of events that could have played out when the black South Africans got freedom from the apartheid government.
Absolutely.
And so we ask, what would South Africa have looked like if it had undergone a violent transition?
Absolutely.
What if they didn't have Nelson Mandela, who was such a peacemaker?
Absolutely.
Right? Things would have gone completely differently if they had a Castro type of leader, would have had a revolution.
Absolutely.
All that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so there's two major themes that are explored. The first, the difficult adaptation process of the white family. And living now in this strange rural environment of their servant,
at the mercy of their servant,
at the mercy of the servant, and all the the levels that they have to now
cascade
climbing down. Really, and some of the shock that they experience with that. And the second theme, then a reversal of power relations, as we've just talked about, right?
Absolutely.
So now the white family is dependent on their former servant. And so the question that this begs is this a utopian novel or a dystopian novel? Utopian being a place or a state where everything is perfect.
A paradise.
Right? A paradise. And dystopian being the complete opposite. A place where things are unpleasant, they're uncertain. You've got totalitarianism and you've got dictatorship kind of going on.
I would say it's both. I would actually say it's both, and it depends on who you're asking. If you ask July, the servant, this is utopia. This is what he's been
being able to load over your Muzungu master.
And you're seeing their children speaking your language. How beautiful.
Absolutely.
But now it's you colonizing the
them. But of course, for the white family, especially the parents, it's very dystopic. It's very unpleasant. It's very surreal. And they're like, this is not how things are supposed to be. And that's how the ANC saw it. They're saying, oh, this is not how things are supposed to be. This is a racist book.
Very fascinating, I think, journey that the writer takes us through.
Absolutely.
When I was reading this book, Africans have been saying China has come to colonize Africa. But I don't think that is the case, because in Zambia, I saw Chinese children speaking Zambian. They cannot, or whatever they speak there, they cannot speak Chinese. And here, those prisoners who come to build our roads are getting married to Kikuyus, and they are actually speaking Kikuyu. Now, who is getting colonized? Is it us or is it them?
It depends on how you look at it.
Absolutely.
So if you'd like to look at more of the power dynamics in Nadine Gordimer's book, you can order it from rafflebooks.com. You can find them on their social media platforms that you can see on your screen. And they do same-day delivery in Nairobi, overnight delivery in other parts of the country, and they're also in the wider East Africa region. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on your TV screen. Find us on GoTV, Star Times, and Pang Free to Air. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.